It's time for Don and Ron. You won't get this anywhere else.
All right, folks, here we are today at Bessemer Airport, and what you have here, Don and Ron. Don and Ron, we kind of start bringing you guys bi-weekly videos, some how-to stuff, but most importantly, some of the projects that we've worked on. Like I say, I'm Don, this is my brother Ron. One of the things we want to talk about first is our nice shirts that we got. Talking about the EAA raffle. The EAA raffle is more important than ever now, guys and gals, because we need to make sure that we're supporting the program. They're not going to have the Young Eagles banquet this year at Oshkosh because it's not going to happen. So all the tickets that we sell for the 50th anniversary raffle airplane, we need to make sure that we get out and we support that program. But today we want to talk about this beautiful airplane we just finished that belongs to a fella out in Wagoneer, Oklahoma, just south of Tulsa. It's a beautiful 1946 J-3 that has been converted to look like an L-4. You know, an L-4, for you folks that don't know what that is basically a military version of a J-3, a liaison aircraft. So if you want to come on up, Michael, he's behind the camera today, kind of giving us our beautiful footage that you have. And kind of zoom over here, we'll talk about this beautiful rascal. If you look right here, it's called Miss Naomi. And if you look at the spelling, it's a little different than normal. Miss Naomi really was a child that was wandering down in South America. And the owner of this airplane sponsors a missionary group down there. And he felt compelled to call this airplane Miss Naomi in her honor. She's still doing real well, going through school, and growing up is going to be a fine young woman. And hopefully one of these days, she'll actually get to come up here and maybe go flying in the front seat of this airplane. Be kind of cool, wouldn't it? All right, and of course it's got the Cessnick wood prop on it. I don't know if a lot of folks know it, but Cessnick has been around since the 1930s and still making these beautiful props. And this is what it would have had on it when it was in military service, if it was a real L4. But again, like I say, we've tried to keep with the motif and just come up with as nice of a look as we can. But starting from the front, Cessnick wood propeller. Then it's got a Continental C90 motor, little Dash 12 motor, which has a starter on it because the gentleman that owns the airplane needs something because it's harder for him to hand prop an airplane. It's an STC that's available for this airplane, so kind of nice for folks out there that want a little more horsepower and also wants to have electric start. So come on back here, let's kind of talk about this airplane just a little bit. Kind of do what we call a walk around, what you're going to see us starting to do. All the seat covers and everything, this is all done with fire tested, fire rated seat material. Seat belts, military style, OD green from the guys over at Aircraft Spruce, again certified stuff. All the way back to the back, if you look, this particular guy right here, the pilot, when they were in service, could fly from the back or the front, but he had to have an observer in the back. And the observer, what he would do, they would pull the back stick out, and he could take this seat back loose. He could turn around backwards, and then put his feet down inside of that area right there. You can see where his feet could sit, and he'd have his maps and maybe even a radio right here. A lot of them had Jeep radios where they could communicate with the troops on the ground. But as soon as he turned himself around, he would just simply take and reattach it. And now this would be his backrest, and he could adjust it if he needed to. But as you can see, it's got all this proper stenciling on it. Everything's been done as far as period correct. All that is hand painted. All the throttle quadrant, the fuel shutoff, and the trim lever itself. But just a gorgeous airplane. Gorgeous airplane. Now we'll kind of move on out here. One of my favorite things when you look at this airplane, me being a big military buff kind of guy, that and I served in the service myself. Had uncles that served at Iwo Jima, you know, in the Pacific and also in Europe too. But so my brother and I, we really appreciate the military. So one of the things that's a cool feature, if you come on around this way, Michael, is the big stars and bars under the wing here. This would be one of those identifiers, like obviously, so that the troops on the ground would for sure know that they were a friend. And then during the war, they put the invasion stripes for D-Day on them, so that it really would identify them when they was flying over D-Day. But you can look at the side of the airplane, and you can see the markings on the side of it. BA would just stand for the group that it was with, and BA actually, for you guys that may not know it, was really the designation for an L-4 in 1943 called Janie. Janie was a unique airplane. It was the only airplane to ever be awarded the Purple Heart. Patton knew how important it was for these airplanes, because, you know, you didn't have satellites, you didn't have, you know, all kind of the drones and stuff. This was the drone. This was the manned drone that would go out over the battlefields and near the battlefields to try to spot the troops. So Patton and all the other generals over there, it was very, very important to them that they knew where everybody was at, obviously. And so when Janie got damaged and when it got repaired, Patton found out about it and awarded Janie the Purple Heart. So the markings are from Janie, but of course this was Miss Naomi, so that's the lineage for this particular girl. But all the markings are based on Janie. So if you want to walk around this way, we can kind of show you a little bit more about it. But everything on this airplane has been kind of restored from top to bottom. Every nut, bolt, washer, and screw. You've probably seen one of our other videos with the 41 Cub that we did for the 2018 EAA sweepstakes. Well, this airplane really took no less as far as the amount of work that we put into it, the love we put into it. And so you can see the side of the airplane and the other markings on the tail, which are just beautiful and gorgeous. Again, indicative of Janie. This particular airplane, again, you see the greenhouse on it. You can see how much room and what these guys could do as far as being able to see what's going on. And you can see my brother kind of getting in the back of the airplane, and you can kind of see what the observer would have looked at back in the day. He had all this room in here to be able to have maps and storage. And even some of them had, like I said, the Jeep radio, and they'd have an antenna sticking out right here. And it was a collapsible antenna that would do about 12 foot in the air, and that way they could communicate with the ground troops. Pretty neat. We're working on another one, a 1945, that's a true L4. And when it comes out, we'll have a good walk around for it. I think everybody will kind of be interested in seeing some of the more unique features that some of the L4s had. Again, different markings and everything for the group they were in and the aircraft that it was. Come on around, like I say, we'll get a good view of the back side of the top of the wing, and you'll see that it had the stars and bars on the top of the wing on the left. So it was really kind of unique in the fact that people, when they were coming in, they could see it from top or bottom. So another aircraft wouldn't mistake it again for something else. Some of you might have just read the new article that just came out by Jim Bushy from the EAA, and that article was about a particular airplane called Bazooka Charlie. Bazooka Charlie was a guy that took and mounted bazookas on plywood, 3 on each side on these lift struts right here. We'll come around and show you this. But it was kind of neat. He had a big piece of plywood in here, and he had 3 bazookas, and he had strings that he could pull to activate the bazookas. And if you read that story, I believe, yeah, it's on the EAA website. But anyway, he would have to get down on the ground, basically just skimming the ground, because it had to be line of sight. And the bazookas, you only had about a 150 to 200 yard range. But he has confirmed kills for knocking out tanks and all kind of different things. Just pretty ingenious guy, that what he did with one of these little bitty airplanes. But kind of that's what we got for you for today. We look forward to talking to all you guys in the future, and look out for more videos from
C&D Aviation.
C&D Aviation, but more importantly, Don and Ron.